This week, I'm sharing how I navigated compassion imperfectly and the lessons around it and how to get out of the trauma triangle and really develop deeper unity consciousness so we can deepen the love and joy and peace within us and around us. So let's get started.
Welcome to the I'm Perfectly Divine podcast, a place for the strong, sensitive, spiritual seeker to recognize the perfection of your human journey as a pathway to. My work is to bridge both the emotional and spiritual worlds through proven and grounded frameworks that support you to live in the wholeness you already are. For over the past 2 decades, I have supported people from all around the world, as well as Fortune 500 companies, to dissolve the divisions within them and live with greater empowerment and love. This podcast is an exploration of the paradoxes that befuddle us as we live our lives being both human and divine. Together, you and I, along with other experts, will navigate integrating psychology and spirituality, the divine feminine and the divine masculine, the darkness and the light, to create greater sacred union from within. I believe through your remembering that you are innately divine, that you will allow yourself to more openly shine. So let's get to it, because your unique light is needed more than ever.
Hello, beautiful soul. Welcome to I'm Perfectly Divine podcast, or welcome back. Today, I'm going to be sharing a bit about a seemingly small experience that happened recently and utilize this as an example of how to deepen compassion for both ourselves and for one another. And I want to be clear that the whole point of this is not to like nitpick at our lives, but how our emotions come through regarding certain instances. And they're there to help us reflect a bit deeper. And in doing so, it's elevating us to greater love, greater compassion, and ultimately to support us in all living with greater unity consciousness. And I think a point that we miss is that our human experience is to bring awareness of ourselves. Like that's the point. It's through our interactions with one another and life and how we respond to life that we get to witness ourselves. And this is one of the greatest blessings that we have. Now, sometimes our interactions with others are to bring forward awareness for them. Sometimes when we bring forward a awareness for another, it's also to bring forward awareness for ourselves. And it's usually a combination, right? And that's what I'm going to share today. And it's really understanding that all of this is to help us to sort out, to sort through what comes from fear so that we can move back into alignment with love, with greater love. And so this is where I am such a proponent that our emotions are allies to help us raise our awareness, to help us to know ourselves. And emotion is this energy that is literally awakening us to pay attention, either because something feels so good and so right to us, or it feels bad and really off to us, right? And the divine feminine, or the feminine aspect, is there to guide us to stop shaming ourselves and shaming how we learn through our humanity and through our emotions. And it's really understanding that we get to be in this process to know ourselves, that we came here to do that. And shaming ourselves for bringing deeper awareness is what the ego wants to do, is how the ego tries to diminish us so that we raise ourselves as being perfect and not being able to refine our humanity so that we're actually in alignment with our divinity. So we can spiritually bypass and be like, I am just a reflection of the divine, which we all are. And that is true. And in that sense, in our spiritual sense, we each are perfect. And in our human sense, we are here to remember and embody that through refining through our human experiences. And that's why it's a blessing that we get to be here, that we chose to do this. And I know that when we don't understand what's going on, it can cause a lot of suffering. It's caused a lot of suffering in my life. But I do believe that the more we have awareness as to what is really going on a soul and spiritual level, that insight and that awareness can help lessen the blow that can happen when it feels like we're constantly refining. And so this is our opportunity to, when we're in a place, to desire to refine, because we know that in doing so, we feel more love expanding within and around us, then it becomes more of a joyful thing versus when we feel like, oh my gosh, I've got to go to therapy because I've got so many problems, I've got so many issues going on, or, I've done so much shadow work, haven't I done enough? And I've been in that place. And that's when it is exhausting because there's that belief that you're broken and you need fixing, right? And that's why I always end each podcast that there isn't anything to fix. It's just to remember. And the more we align ourselves with the true remembrance of who we are, the easier it becomes. And I think most importantly, we don't take it personally. And again, it becomes a sense of, I get to do this. And so I want to tell you about a seemingly, not big deal interaction and share with you how I like to challenge myself. Again, because an emotion came forward that was asking me to bring awareness and kind of investigate this for myself a little bit more and hopefully share with you then what I learned so you can take from it and you don't have to experience what I did, even though either way it's not a big deal, right? But we're just all trying to learn and grow and evolve together. So um, this is so I'll just share the story. So the other day I was taking a walk and a delivery driver was in the neighborhood that I was walking in, and the van, when I was walking, came really close to me, like where you actually feel like the vehicle as it passes by. Like, I know I didn't feel it physically, it did not touch me, but it's like I could feel when it passed by, and it made me jump, and I was totally fine, but it was just like, whoa, it was very startling and a bit scary, right? And so I didn't know what was going on, if the driver wasn't paying attention, if they were like looking at their phone and what's the next delivery on their route, or if they were just trying to get through their deliveries and just didn't give me enough space. And so what happened for me was that I was like, okay, like, I know the person did not do this on purpose. If the vehicle stops, I will try to stop the driver and let them know, like, whoa, you need to give people more space here. But if not, whatever. It is what it is. It's not my role to try to. I'm not gonna. I wasn't angry, and I wasn't going to chase after the driver. Right? It was just like, let's see what the universe wants. And so I actually saw, as I kept my walk going, I saw the driver in the truck in a cul-de-sac, which was kind of perfect, right? Because then I got in the middle of the road of where this cul-de-sac was, and I waved down the driver, and I just let them know. I'm like, hey, I don't know if you realize this, but I was walking and you came really close to me. Like, it was a bit scary. And usually drivers provide enough space so that doesn't happen. I said, I don't know if you were on your phone looking for the next delivery or what, but I just wanted you to be aware. And they were like, I wasn't on my phone and I'm sorry. And I'm like, that's okay. And so I'm like, I just wanted you to know and be aware, just to give walkers more space, right? So no big deal. And because we've all had these type of interactions, I know I have accidentally driven close to someone before, right? And or not seen someone pulling out of my driveway. Stuff like this happens. We have these types of interactions all the time with one another. And it's a part of our human journey. And when we are here to walk our path as consciously as possible, it can seem like, or what I feel that has been given the message to spiritual people is to just be love and light. And in doing that, we can make ourselves believe that the better thing to do is to not make it a big deal out of it at all by not having the conversation, by not bringing forward some awareness. And this is the gift of our emotions, because our emotions are an energy, and they're an energy that's there to move us. And we want to be able to learn how to move with our emotions as consciously as possible. Because again, they're saying and they're alerting us that something isn't right. And then they want to move us to bring some course correction to whatever is going on. And so there was information or awareness that was coming forward for this situation that for both of us. And in many cases, when we are bringing awareness for another, it is also to help us bring awareness back to ourselves. So my emotion guided me clearly on the walk. Like if I have the opportunity, I need to speak up to this driver. And that they can't be on autopilot when they're delivering or whatever was going on for them. And the awareness for myself is, who do I want to be when someone crosses a boundary? And so throughout my relationships, whether it's with my spouse or my children, I want to be clear that when something doesn't work for me, um, that I am compassionate by also bringing understanding and really separating the fact out that there's an action or an event that happened and that's different from the person that they are, because that's where I think a lot of hurt can get in to the process, right? And so someone crosses a boundary, a part of us knows this, and it because it doesn't feel right. And then the real work is, how do we navigate this together? And first of all, we're not going to bypass it. We're going to listen to our feelings and make sure that the feelings aren't coming from a disempowered state. So, like I said, I wasn't angry. It was just being able to trust myself, like, oh, okay, I needed to either speak up to them if I have the opportunity. Otherwise, the universe will figure this out in another way that the universe is meant to figure out. And it doesn't involve me. But my opportunity came forward was for this interaction with another human being who unintentionally crossed a boundary of my safety, what I felt was crossing a boundary of my safety, to bring that into their awareness for whatever reason was important for both of us. So there's something going on. There's a thread that's happening in this interaction between me and this person, even though we don't know each other. And there's a thread that I'm meant to step into or weave with them that may just be a reminder to get them out of autopilot if they were concerned about something else going on in their day, because they could have, as the day went on, as children got out of school, maybe they could have, accidentally hurt someone. I don't know. That's not my part to determine. And then it's also to look at, again, who am I being in this interaction? And what was interesting for me is that after I continued the walk and I was thinking about it, the question arose, could I have been more compassionate towards this person? And the answer was yes. So after having time to process the situation, I could see that whenever I had to drive a bigger vehicle, that it's really hard to kind of gauge your surroundings, what you're used to. Like if I drive a smaller car and when I get into my husband's truck and drive it, it's like, whoa, I don't know. Like the lines of the road are harder to see. It's just different to be able to see things in the same way. And there was a recognition that I did not address this person with that understanding. And this is where we hold the both and, because there was an opportunity, if I would have remembered or it would have clicked, that in that moment I could have offered that I have done something similar to. But that's not how this situation played out. And what came forward is, it was just that it was because I was still kind of shook by what happened. It was just really being able to say, whoa, like this did not sit right with me, and be able to share that piece. And so that is the first step when an emotion comes forward, is a willing to step into it. And in this instance, it was guiding me to speak up, that because something didn't sit right, and not be attached to what the driver thought of me about it. Because if we don't listen to our emotions consciously, and we're worried about others, what they're going to perceive about us, that's our egos, that's fear. And so the awareness these interactions bring to us personally is how to stand up for healthy boundaries clearly and with love, because otherwise the boundary will likely continue to be broken, or there can be negative ripple effects. Now the second opportunity is to see the ways my ego may want to take a boundary being broken and turn that into superiority. And that's where the energy of self-righteousness can creep in and dilute the impact of what the greater guidance is trying to bring us awareness to. Like, whoa, be careful. And it turns into this I'm right, you're wrong thing. Because and the reason why this is so important to understand is because what will be felt in the exchange is not the opportunity to course correct through awareness, but the energy of I want to be right because you wronged me, which can show up in us as individuals. You wronged me personally, or you wronged my group of people that I identify with, or you've wronged people who think like me. And this is where this instance became a microcosm for, I believe, what happens in the macro. And the energy has to be, or where compassion was guiding me to recognize that the energy has to be, is that I don't agree with this behavior, rather than I'm right and you are wrong. And it's a slippery, slippery slope, but one that is so vital for us to get. Because what I know without a doubt is that being self-righteous doesn't work in our intimate relationships, it doesn't work in our parenting, and it does not work in our society. And it just creates more division. And out of all the work that I've done with supporting people in their relationships with their parenting or whatever it is, this is the common thread that I see, that self-righteousness can so easily slip in, especially when we feel we've been wronged. It's like, well, I am right and they are wrong. And it's really about, okay, this situation, something happened where we missed the mark here. Someone missed the mark, but it doesn't make us as an individual right, or a group right, and someone else wrong. And what I was being guided to reflect was to see that thread of self-righteousness in the energy that I had with the driver. And I was not out of control. I was very calm. But I felt wronged. And that energy was there. And so this isn't about beating ourselves up. It's not to beat myself up. It's the opportunity to bring awareness to that part of me so that I can be more aware of the insidious nature of our egos that loves making ourselves feel right or superior. I mean, it's like I would rather us be on the alert for this than be completely like, I'm over it, right? Like, um, because this is the way then that the ego will come in and keep us in this divisiveness. And so while I was totally kind, I could have brought in more compassion, which to me sounds like, I know you didn't mean to, but this happened. And it's just this like small thing, but in saying, I know you didn't mean to, I'm saying, I see your humanity. I see your goodness. And despite that, this thing happened. And the message needs to be, I believe, that I still see you. I see you as a good human doing the best that you can. But this happened, and this happening is a trespass. And I use that word specifically because that's how it feels, but also because this is in the Lord's Prayer to forgive us for our trespass, for our own trespasses, as we have forgiven those who have trespassed against us. So we are forgiven based on how we have forgiven those who have trespassed against us. And so ultimately, what this means is we are in charge of how we will or won't be provided with grace based on when we have created debts, because we do in being human, by looking at how we have forgiven our debtors. And the way to this mercy and grace is compassion. And I believe compassion is everything right now for ourselves and for others, because we are in the midst of major, major changes in our world. And the divisiveness will continue unless we are willing to really look at this aspect of how our ego wants to bring in this undertone of I'm right, you're wrong, and what that does in continuing that cycle of that keeps us away from remembering that we are one. So these times that we are in requires speaking up when behaviors don't align. And it requires us to see the love in another despite actions that are hurtful. And that is no joke, right? That is no easy task. So clearly in this microscopic experience that occurred between me and a delivery driver, it's easier to think that you've got compassion down, and our heads will tell us like, yeah, I got this, Michelle. But this is why we get to be human, because we get to have these experiences to truly witness ourselves and bring awareness through our interactions, and to know that our energy isn't here to be right or wrong. Our energy and the love that we are is here to bring unity. And that's it. And that unity starts within us and then continues through how we relate to one another. And this is why a seemingly small incident can be huge. It can be a huge opportunity to reflect if that's where your emotions are guiding you. And you know that because it's like something doesn't sit right about the situation. And that's when we are in a space, when we're in that place of, I get to have the opportunity to look into more of where I can align myself, that it feels like a privilege. And I also have compassion and don't want to make wrong for those times when it doesn't feel like a privilege because I've also been there. And it's all part of the process that we go through in our remembrance path. So, where this led me was an opportunity to self reflect by asking myself, can I see the way that another has missed the mark as similar to ways I've also missed the mark? So I can remember our humanity in these important interactions that we are having with one another, or seemingly small interactions we are having with one another. Can I see that the ways I have been so convinced at times that I was doing the right thing or was doing what was needed was really fear driving me? Can I own the ways I am still navigating this human experience imperfectly with self compassion so that when others navigate it imperfectly, I have compassion for them too? I don't get to have a redo with the delivery driver. I just get the opportunity to grow and hope they do too. And ultimately, this is what we want for one another and for our humanity. The opportunity to learn and grow by bringing awareness to the ways our individual energy impacts the collective energy. And then to work on our own energy field to create change with empowerment and compassion. So, what is deepening within me is a level of remembrance that looks like this. Can I remember the divine aspects in all humans, even when someone puts their own needs above another, like I have? When someone is oblivious to the needs of another, like I have? And when they use power to control, like I have? This is important because then I remember the oneness, and that if I have been able to do better with course correcting those behaviors that came from fear, so can others. And they are not their behaviors. We're not our behaviors, but we're being guided to understand ourselves and know ourselves so that we can remember the love that we are. And I know how another misses the mark may not be the same way you have missed the mark, but we need to see one another. I think that's the invitation, to see one another in order to navigate this time so that we get ourselves out of patterns that keep us separate from one another. This dysfunctional power struggle that we are in has three roles: the victim, which is powerless; the persecutor, which is blaming; and the rescuer, which is enabling. And this is someone that I follow. Her name is Heather Ensworth, and she is a trauma-informed shamanic practitioner, and I think she's also a psychotherapist. She calls this the trauma triangle, and she says this is what we are going through during this dark age that we are in called the Kali Yuga. And we are in the midst of shifting out of the Kali Yuga to the Satya Yuga, or the age of truth. So this age of darkness that we've been in, the Kali Yuga, we have been in this for 432,000 years. It's kind of mind-blowing. And we are now shifting out of it. And that age of darkness that we have been in, that we are shifting out of, this is based on Hindu cosmology, which predicted this and is all about the decline in morality and our decline in truly understanding spiritual wisdom, insight, and knowledge. It's been the darkness. But there is a benefit of this time. And that benefit is the darkness is actually a fast track to our remembrance and embodiment of our divinity. So how I look at it is the intensity of the friction that we are experiencing can allow the diamond of your pure heart to shine through. Like that friction is going to allow that diamond to get clearer. And you are able to access your pure heart through the practice of devoting yourself to love and to truth, by asking for grace, by utilizing your emotions as allies for you to truly know yourself. And this is exactly why I believe so many people decided to incarnate during this time, so that we can experience surrendering our egos at deeper and deeper levels through the internal guidance offered by learning to utilize our emotions as allies. And I know this is something that we haven't been taught, but it's what has gravitated you here, hopefully, to learn how to do that and to practice this for yourself, and to know that we get to practice, because that is the way we get beyond the false superior I'm right ego that shows up a lot in spiritual superiority, when we just focus on how do we connect with the divine rather than receive the love that we are through our humanity, and remember and embody that, so that the divine can work through us as the love that we are. And I think with this podcast, what's really important to me is that I'm not here to hide my humanity from you, because we are all one. If I'm hiding an aspect of myself, I'm hindering our collective to remember that we are love regardless if we miss the mark or not. And so much of this patriarchal leadership has been showing that we're superior, showing that we're above others, showing that we're perfect. And it's not healthy. And then we see the sneaky ways the ego comes in and comes out in unhealthy ways, because they're just not willing to own their humanity. And that is diminishing. And we want to diminish that within ourselves, again, so that it's okay for us to learn and grow, and we get to learn and grow from each other. And that's going to help speed up our collective growth towards unity consciousness. And you, I know, are not here to hide your humanity either, because hiding is always the work of the ego. That the ego that says we aren't enough, that we should be more evolved, when the reality is that it is a gift to be able to keep evolving. And the only thing stopping our evolution would be the ego, would be what separates us, both internally and as a collective. So it is our love that desires all of us together to hit the mark of unity consciousness, which can only be done when we aren't afraid of the parts that we ourselves and others have judged as less than, and not evolved enough or not enough in any way. And what I know is that those judgments that come from others are only projections of their own sense of self that remains hidden, and that says that they're not enough, and continues this notion of separation within them, and is there until we all recognize that that separation is an illusion. It's an illusion that we are being guided to awaken from. And this is, again, why I honor our emotions, because they always awaken us. They know what is true and good and right for us. They know what is bad, wrong, off for us. And the whole ability to have that as a guidance system is a gift, and one that we want to continue to practice with until we are able to do so at a level where our emotions truly are our allies. So I'm here to remind us that our humanity is a gift. It is the path to fast track us to be the love we came here to be, but only if we are willing to meet ourselves first with fierce undying, compassionate love, because that is a love that allows us to do the same for one another. So until next time, know that there is nothing to fix, just to remember. Blessed be.
I am so honored you have joined me today. If you enjoyed the I'm Perfectly Divine podcast, subscribe so you don't miss any of our power-filled episodes. Also, if you know another who is strong, sensitive, and spiritual and wants to dive deeper into emotions and ancient wisdom so they too can create profound peace and fulfillment from within, please share this podcast. Thank you again for joining me, and I look forward to reconnecting with you soon.